So, you think you want to become a Power BI freelancer or consultant, but let's start with a reality check. The average person looking into freelancing or consulting on Power BI is heading for disaster, and you may be as well. It would be disingenuous to say that this stuff is easy. That's a lie, and some folks are happy to sell you that lie at your expense. Even worse, the typical mental model of consulting is all wrong. So let's take an example. Imagine if your car had broken down and you were supposed to drive it to your vacation at Disneyland or Cedar Point or some amusement park or something next week. You are stressed out, you had these plans, everyone's depending on you, and you go to the mechanic, you got to get it fixed. And you asked, "Can you fix my car?" And they said, "Well, I'm very enthusiastic." You would flip your lid. You would be so mad, you would start cussing. Or even worse, imagine if instead they said, "Well, I'm not actually a mechanic. I'm a world famous botanist. I won a Nobel Prize in plants, but I'm willing to give it a shot and I'll do it for cheap." You would be stunned into pure confusion. As the customer, you do not care how skilled they are if they can't solve your personal problem. And that's the key mistake. Suffice it to say, the vast majority of people I see asking about becoming a freelancer online have certain assumptions. These assumptions will set you up for failure. It's easy to assume that because you are qualified technically, that you would be a good consultant. It's easy to assume that you are competing on price, so free work is an instant win. It's easy to assume that your enthusiasm matters, but most good customers aren't focused purely on price or your individual talents or personal affect or enthusiasm. Customers do not care about you. They don't care about your skills. What they care about is your ability to get it done and get it done reliably. While there can be a relationship that builds over time, at the end of the day, this is a transaction, first and foremost. And I've made these mistakes myself. In my early career, I once pitched to my boss that he should pay for me to get a certification. And one of those reasons was that it would be good for my career. He had a chuckle about this and teased me afterwards. What a bad salesperson I was. What a dumb sales pitch that I made. Hey, pay for this cert so that it's easier for me to leave you and leave my job. It was silly in retrospect, but it was a valuable lesson. Customers are the same. They care about their problems. They don't care if you're desperate for work. And in fact, sometimes that makes it worse. A desperate person will overpromise to get the job. And will you raise your prices once you've settled in? They don't care if you're the best technician around. That doesn't always make the best consultant. They don't care about your needs or skills. What they care about are their problems and how effectively and efficiently you can solve them. This is a blend of not just technical skills, but business sense and people skills. Customers care about results. And this is a difficult shift for all of us. All humans are egotists on some level, myself included. It took me a long time to learn to place the customer first. Consulting isn't about me or my ego. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is the best plain English book on marketing I've ever read. It shows how to be the guide instead of the hero of the story, how to be Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of Luke Skywalker. Your customers deserve to be the heroes of their own story. In the book The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, he talks about 3 contradictory hats worn by small business owners. First is the technician. You like doing the work, you like implementing the work, so why not work for yourself? Why should a big corporation get the fruit of your labors? Well, the problem is you don't get to spend 100% of your time being the technician. Often you don't even spend 50% of your time doing it. Instead, just because you don't have a boss anymore doesn't mean you don't have a boss anymore. Being your own boss means being a manager, which is a skill set many of us lack. I certainly did. The manager cares about stability and reliability over pure technical skill. The manager has to think about budgets, invoices, contracts, cash flow, insurance, and taxes. All of that boring stuff. You can outsource some of this to a lawyer and an accountant, but not all of it. At a bare minimum, you have to keep your technician, you, on target. Finally, you have the entrepreneur, the owner. The entrepreneur works on the business and growing it, and not in the business. They're the visionary, the grower, not the hired hands. Even if you are the world's best Power BI developer, you can see how you are taking on 2 new jobs that you may have no experience in. So what's next in this first course module? First, are you doing this for the right reasons? Self-employment has a lot of benefits, but money isn't always one of them. Then, are you prepared? Have you thought this through? And then after that, we'll talk about the consulting life cycle. What does it look like for a project to go from start to finish? In the paid portion of the course, we'll talk about the boring things, such as paperwork, the stuff that keeps you out of jail, sales and marketing. If you're an introvert like me, you're not a fan, but you have to learn how to do it. And then scoping, estimating, and pricing.